Hey y'all, Junebug here. Thanks for tuning in. This is going to be a follow-up to Train Hopping Essential Supplies. Just want to give a couple of considerations for y'all, things I really didn't have time to talk about in the previous video, as well as a couple of details on particular pieces of supplies. The first thing I wanted to talk about is my sleep system. What I do is I use cardboard to sleep on. And what that means is you just find a cardboard box, like outside of some store or by a dumpster, in the dumpster. You can just find it. It's pretty easy to find once you start looking for it. But so you find a cardboard box, you break it down, and you sleep on that. The more layers you have, the more comfortable it is. And then you got cardboard for making signs when you need to make signs. So that's the sleep system. When you're traveling by freight train, you got to remember that the tracks always run through areas of town that are low-income areas, because the neighborhoods around the train tracks are not as desirable because the train's loud, because there's safety issues if the train were to derail. So this just in general lowers the property value. So when you come across other travelers, you want to look more inconspicuous, so that you don't appear to be a target for somebody who's looking to steal from you. Remember, it's important that you have a gallon of water with you. Find a jug that has a screw cap. So you see, opposed to, like, let's say a milk jug type that just kind of pushes on. Find one that has a screw cap. It's gonna help protect that water if your jug is to tip over. So I wanted to show you two options with the Sharpie. It's important that you have a Sharpie, because if you end up needing to hitchhike, you need to make a sign, a way to communicate with drivers as to what your destination is. Now this is something that you can carry, and it's convenient because it has a wide tip for writing. But this will do just fine. And this is a tiny, it's a Sharpie Mini. And I've used this plenty, and it's real lightweight and small, and it'll work just fine. It'll just take a little bit more work when you're trying to write something out, but that's another option. I realized I didn't identify this headlamp. What this is a headlamp from a brand called Phoenix, and it's called the HL10 Phoenix headlamp. Now this is the mosquito spray that I use and I prefer. I did not have it at the time I made the first video because I had run out. I had to order a new one, and so I wanted to make sure I showed y'all this because I really like it, and I do recommend this. This is from a brand called Sawyer. I like that it's small. This is like their smallest package available, and it's a 0.5 fluid ounce mosquito spray. The one I've used in the past was a DEET, D-E-E-T, and I've liked it a lot. Now, I tried something else this time. This is called Picaridin, and I have used it, and it works very well. So either one, I'd say go with it. This one's, they say this one's more safe for the skin. It's safe for children, whereas the DEET is not. So, either one, the wallet-size plastic card. Before in the past, what I've done is taken the, like a half a roll. It's a lot larger. It's a lot more than what I need, and so I like this, so that it's more of just a necessary amount of duct tape. Having some earplugs is nice when you're trying to catch some sleep on the train. Remember, the train's really loud. So there's a couple of things I want to share with y'all. People tend to treat you differently if you have a large pack. This is not all the time, but it's definitely sometimes, by my experience. You might draw more attention to yourself. People certainly know that you're traveling, you're kind of on foot. Some people don't like that. It might not allow you to go to places that you would be able to go in otherwise. So you might have to, for instance, leave your backpack outside in some situations. Just because of the fact that you might not want to draw attention to yourself, or you might not be allowed to go into a particular business or just area with a large backpack on. And so, like, let's say you're in a situation like that. Well, now you got to figure out where you're gonna stash your backpack. You got a large pack, and you need to stash it somewhere so you can go inside. Where are you gonna put it? So if you have something like this that you can just put under your shirt and nobody's even gonna see it, you pretty much blend in. You look like anybody else. People don't necessarily know that you're that you're traveling, and that can be a good thing sometimes. One time, I was actually hitchhiking, and I got picked up by this trucker, and he told me he didn't pick up anybody that had backpacks on because he just didn't want to mess with it. And it's true, sometimes if you're hitchhiking and somebody picks you up, you're hauling around this big pack. It's kind of like you're jumping in their vehicle and you got this big pack on you. It's kind of a hassle sometimes unless they got a truck bed and you can just throw it in the back of the bed. So I actually ended up getting a ride because I didn't have a pack, and he would not have picked me up otherwise. So that was a huge bonus. I told y'all it's like maybe like a weekend trip, maybe a couple of days trip. But to be honest, you could travel a lot longer with these things. This is really all I need for a while, and there's plenty of train hoppers that get by with less. So, keep that in mind. Try it yourself and do what works for you. If I were to be traveling cross country, I'm going to have a backpack. If I'm going to be traveling in the winter, definitely going to have a backpack. Because in order to have a good night's rest, I'm going to need to have a sleeping pad, a sleeping bag, in order to keep warm at nighttime in the winter. So this is just not possible for some situations. It's Mach 1, and it's a 1 liter capacity. And the way I see it, it's okay to have nice gear. You just don't want to be flashy. So that's the fanny pack. Good quality pair of boots is a must for me, in my opinion. There's nothing better when you're talking day in and day out, walking on all kinds of terrain. You want something that's going to protect your feet, something that's going to last. I like having ankle support, and I like having an outer sole that protects the bottom of my feet from sharp rocks. Now what I recommend is wool socks. These ones here are from a brand called REI. They're wool socks. They dry quicker. They wick moisture better. They don't get all dirty and grimy as much. And when you wash them, they'll dry out real quick in the sun. They don't smell bad. You keep one clean, you find a sink and you wash them out. You replace the ones you had on with the clean ones, and then you work it like that. Having something that you can walk for miles in is what you want. Okay, I recommend you bring a cap and sunglasses. Protect your eyes with the sunglasses. Keep the sun out of your face with the cap. If you were to pick one, I'd say go with the cap. That way, you go with the cap, keep your face from getting burned, as well as keep the rain out of your eyes if you get caught in a downpour.
All right, I appreciate y'all watching. Y'all be safe.